This is the first thing I think of when it comes to Pokemon. This song. The classic Lavender Town theme, and along with it I can't help but remember the good old days of bad Pokemon creepypastas and absurd myths and urban legends. Things like Missing No and Bill's Secret Garden, the Lumio City Ghost Girl, or Mew Under the Truck, or even wild theories like Ash's Coma or Hypno kidnapping children. Yeah, this list gets pretty weird and out there. So join me today as we dive into the many strange myths, legends, and theories of Pokemon. But first, today, real quick, I want to talk to you about today's sponsor, YouTube Premium. That's right guys, YouTube itself is sponsoring this video. Now I'm sure by now most of you know what YouTube Premium is, and for me it's been an absolute game changer. I mean it when I say this. I've been personally subscribed to YouTube Premium since before I even created this YouTube channel. It's just the ultimate convenience, and there's really no going back once you experience its great features. It also helps support creators, so that's cool too. First of all, no more ads, making the viewing experience much smoother on all your devices. Just sign in on your phone, computer, and your TV and watch videos ad-free. You also get access to premium YouTube Music to download and listen to your favorite songs through the YouTube Music app. And along with that, you can also use background play, which allows you to play videos without having to keep your phone screen on, which is great for working out, doing chores, or while you're browsing your phone, allowing you to use it and listen at the same time. And who could forget the best feature, downloads, which lets you download videos from when you don't have internet, keeping you entertained while on flights or long car or train rides. Best of all, I've teamed up with YouTube to bring you guys a 2-month free trial for you to test out the features of Premium. So make sure to use the link in the description box to sign up if you're eligible. If you subscribe through the link in the post, I may get a commission. Alright, thanks again to YouTube. Now back to the video. Lavender Town Syndrome. We all know this one, the most classic of classics when it comes to gaming horror myths in general, the holy grail of Pokemon creepypastas. We have the urban legend of the Lavender Town Syndrome. I'm sure even people not too familiar with Pokemon even know about this one. It's an urban legend and creepypasta originating from the first 1996 Pokemon games, Red and Blue, found within the creepy location of Lavender Town, known for its ominous theme song and mysterious ghostly encounters. In fact, a Pokemon graveyard can be found as well as even a few ghost-type Pokemon. It's also implied that the town is haunted by a ghost Pokemon of Marowak. However, the urban legend itself goes back to the eerie music, which was said to have caused the deaths of many Japanese children in the 90s, who committed suicide after hearing this song in-game, due to certain frequencies in the track, as well as the use of binaural beats, which caused this alleged Lavender Town Syndrome, which was also said to cause nausea, depression, suicidal thoughts, or even seizures. It spread like wildfire through 4chan threads, creepypastas, and gaming forums, becoming the urban legend it is today. Of course, the music doesn't actually do any of this, but it's still one of the creepiest tracks ever to come out of Pokemon. Also, it's kind of catchy too, come on, you can't lie. Ash's Coma Theory. This here is a pretty infamous Pokemon theory, which also is well known for being a creepypasta, mainly focused on the anime. The basic thesis of this theory is that Ash is in a coma throughout most of the entire anime series, and everything you see is a deep dream he's having. This supposedly happens at the same time the anime undergoes a tonal shift after Ash is hit by one of Pikachu's attacks in episode 1. This means everything past this point is just his imagination. A fantasy world which makes the setting much more forgiving than it is in the more realistic beginning of the show, where he can live out his dream of becoming the best trainer, going on adventures with his friends. This is also used as an explanation for why he never ages, despite this anime going for literally decades by now and like thousands of episodes. There's also a lot more that goes into this theory, especially with the creepypasta rendition, which basically tries to explain everything in the show as being a part of Ash's subconscious, and also explaining certain plot beats, such as making the case for Giovanni being Ash's father. Since his dad is nowhere to be found in the anime and in the games, it seems he made him the villain of this world and the leader of Team Rocket. Similarly, the Nurse Joys that appear in every town all look the same because they are simply a figment of his imagination. Mew Under the Truck. Despite Mew being such an iconic Pokemon, they're not actually seen in the original games, and instead they're only mentioned, giving it a somewhat legendary status, leading many people to try and find this mythical Pokemon, which of course led to playground rumors and eventually the Under the Truck myth, which suggests that near the SS Anne ship in Vermilion City on a conspicuous ledge, there is a seemingly random truck which is actually the secret to acquiring Mew. This is most likely due to the fact that the truck is pretty out of the way and hard to reach, only being able to get there via the surf move, allowing you to traverse the water and onto this ledge. There are some variations on this myth though, but generally it's said that if you get to the truck before the ship's departure, you can actually go underneath it and find the legendary Pokemon itself. Of course this isn't true, but it did get referenced in quite a few games afterwards, because it was just that popular of a myth, with Game Freak intentionally hiding secret items underneath trucks in future titles. Black and white swimming goggles. This is a rather strange rumor originating from the early days of Pokemon Black and White, which released in 2010. It spread on forums of an alleged item that would put any non-water Pokemon to sleep if they were holding it, but would raise the speed of water Pokemon. However, not only is there no such swimming goggles item in the game, but it was also never found by data miners either. Kind of random, but yeah. Lumiose City Ghost Girl. This is another classic one coming from Pokemon X and Y from 2013. However, this one is very much real. If you go to the second floor of one of the first buildings in Lumiose City, to the right of the Galette stand, you will encounter a ghost girl who uses the sprite of the Hex Maniac. She appears behind you after exiting the elevator before proceeding to glide past you while saying, "No, you're not the one," before disappearing entirely. This of course baffled and creeped out a lot of players, especially since there is seemingly no explanation of this girl. There were additional rumors about her being involved in some sort of Easter egg with unlocking a certain ghost-type Pokemon, but that was all just an urban legend. The Easter egg involving the ghost girl is real though, and still very mysterious. Bill's Secret Garden. Pokemon fans in their unreachable areas, here we go again. Here we have the myth revolving around Bill's backyard, or his secret garden as it's called, found in Pokemon Red and Blue. The rumors usually state that there are some secret items that can be found in the garden, or that getting back there will give you access to other starter Pokemon that you didn't choose. None of these are actually true, as you can't even reach the backyard of his house through normal means, as it's only accessible through hacking the game and moving yourself through the house, only to discover a whole lot of nothing. Surprise, surprise. Catching Pokemon techniques. Now, out of all of these, if you've played the games, I'm sure you've tried at least one of these techniques, despite the fact that they do not improve your chances of catching a Pokemon, but there are many different methods that people have tried. The most common are either mashing certain buttons, or all of them, or even holding them down, which is what I used to do back in the day, holding down the B button, even though I knew it wasn't helping, but can you really blame me? It's like, you know, when you're playing a racing game with a controller and you physically turn it when you turn in game. Maybe that's just a me thing too, but I used to do that all the time back on Need for Speed Carbon, and this is a bit of a similar situation. Anyway, yeah, these methods don't actually affect your chances, although there are some even more fascinating variations, such as timing your button presses with the rolls of the Pokeball, or pressing the directional pad in certain directions, or my personal favorite, saying some sort of catchphrase like "gotcha" into the DS microphone to increase your chances. Honestly though, it wouldn't be that far-fetched considering quite a few games did actually utilize the DS mic. Missed opportunity, Game Freak. Pokegods. So this is a pretty huge entry here because it's sort of a catch-all term used to refer to a bunch of fake Pokemon, which were created by fans of the first game as an expansion of the Pokedex, but of course were not actually real, despite some of them looking quite genuine, while some not so much. Most of them were said to be extremely overpowered and almost invincible, hence the name Pokegods. A lot of them were spread around with fake screenshots, a lot of them had codes associated with them and how to unlock them, and some involved extensive and fake insane Easter eggs to unlock. This likely all stemmed from the mystery of Mew in the original games, alongside the truck myth, which made his legendary status even greater and led to additional rumors of other legendary Pokemon. Some real Pokemon, however, are also labeled as Pokegods, such as Mew, King Slowpoke, Pikablu, a misinterpreted Marill, Togepi, and others. But I can say for sure this Mew 3 was not the real deal. Or how about Doomsay, which honestly from these images looks pretty legit. However, its method of capture? Use a Ghost Stone on Missingno and Gengar to fuse them into this thing. Yeah. Don't worry, by the way, we'll get into Missing No later. Or how about Demonox, an alleged evolution of Onyx? And there were even further myths about an alleged hidden Pokegod city, which could only be accessed with codes. This whole rabbit hole could honestly get an entire video of its own, but we're just gonna move on to the next entry. Pokemon Pink. Here we have some Pokemon lost media. Well, allegedly. The existence of this cancelled Game Boy title from the late 90s is unconfirmed. It was said to be a planned entry in the series early on, and would have been the companion title to Pokemon Yellow, like what Red and Blue were. However, there is no actual proof of any development taking place with this game. All there is are a few references found in the source code of Pokemon Yellow, referring to Pocket Monsters Pink and Yellow, as well as a Yellow package and Pink package. It was also rumored that it was going to feature the first female protagonist in the series, and was going to be targeted primarily for girls, with the only starter Pokemon being possibly Jigglypuff or Clefairy, to suit the color theme like with Pikachu and Yellow. But besides this, all we have is just pure speculation. Pichu from Melee is Pikachu from Brawl. Pichu is of course the first stage Pokemon that evolves into Pikachu, that is actually surprisingly a playable character in Smash Bros. Melee, yet only returns as a trophy in Brawl and Smash for the 3DS, only to come back as a playable character in Smash Ultimate. However, it was rumored that Pichu was planned to appear again in Brawl before being cut. Not only that, but there is a theory that the Pichu that is seen in Melee actually evolves into the Pikachu that is playable in Brawl. What is the reason for this theory? Well, Pikachu in Brawl has the blue goggles which Pichu used to wear in Melee, and no longer wears the iconic wizard hat. RIP. The other big thing in this theory is his ultimate, which is Volt Tackle, a move used both by Pichu and Pikachu. However, it is mainly associated with Pichu because it can only be acquired through a specific method which will birth a Pichu with the move. Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire Ghost Girl. Another Pokemon Ghost Girl mystery, but again this one is very much a real Easter egg. She could be seen at a few points during a cutscene when fighting Phoebe of the Elite Four in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. The first time she can only be spotted for a few frames sitting on a chair. Then the next time, strangely enough, we get to see from her point of view getting up from the chair and walking towards us, the player, and then one final time alongside the player again before disappearing. It all happens pretty fast and is very easy to miss. While I have no idea who this is exactly supposed to be, there are theories, such as it being Phoebe's dead grandmother or even her little sister who died of an unknown illness, or even just some random ghost considering she also uses ghost-type Pokemon and developed an ability while training at Mount Pyre to communicate with ghost types. Hypno kidnapping children. Despite this sounding like a creepypasta, which it is, and a pretty strange and out there theory, it's actually kind of real. Let me explain. The creepypasta Hypno's Lullaby I originally thought was the origin of this creepypasta, but it turns out, no. That would be the original Pokédex entry description of Hypno. Quote, "It carries a pendulum-like device. There once was an incident in which it took away a child it hypnotized." Well, case closed, I guess. A pretty odd thing to include in the entry, wouldn't you say? It does say it only happened once and that they aren't serial offenders, but yeah, kinda wild. This led many fans, though, of accusing Hypno of various disappearances of kids in both the games and the anime. There's even a lost girl, aptly named Lostelle, who is lost in the forest and afraid of a Hypno. There's also the notion that Hypno feasts on dreams, whatever that means or entails. Yeah, I don't think I'll see these guys in the same way anymore. Blue's Raticate is dead. This is referring to the rival character found in Red and Blue, sometimes referred to as Blue, thanks to him being opposite the player in basically everything, including the Pokemon starter you choose, but is more commonly known as Gary Oak. You encounter and battle him several times throughout the game, and eventually around the halfway mark, you will battle him on the SS Anne, in which you will use a Raticate, which evolves from a Rattata he had earlier. However, the next time you see him, he no longer has the Raticate. Now, obviously, the easy answer would be he just swapped him out, but some have created conspiracy theories which state that the Raticate died after his encounter on the SS Anne. Why? Well, because Gary can be found at Pokemon Tower, a graveyard of dead Pokemon in Lavender Town, which we mentioned earlier. And why would he be here if not paying respects to a dead friend, his Raticate? There was even a rumor spread around that he asked the player, quote, do you know what it's like to have a Pokemon die? Which would basically almost confirm this theory, but this doesn't actually happen. Instead, he simply asks what he's doing here. So I guess this one is just up to interpretation. Gengar is Clefable's shadow. This is a Pokemon theory which states that Gengar is actually Clefable's shadow, or maybe even a dead Clefable, which is supposedly because they look very similar and are basically opposite in all regards. Proponents of this theory, though, look back at the very early art of Pokemon and the fact that these two were some of the earliest ever to be developed, which is likely why they are so similar in design, as proof that they were meant to be either one and the same or just inversions of one another. Pokemon Stars version. This again is an unconfirmed game, an allegedly lost and unfinished Nintendo Switch port of Pokemon Sun and Moon, which initially released on the 3DS back in late 2016. Not long after, Nintendo revealed their new flagship console, the Switch, so it seems strange that this game wouldn't release on their brand new console to drum up sales, and had some people confused, especially since there were rumors of a new Pokemon title called Pokemon Stars, being developed for a late 2017 release. This would have continued the trend of launching a third title in a generation, which was enhanced and typically on a newer console, such as with Pokemon Platinum and Diamond and Pearl. There was even an Amazon UK listing by the name of Pokemon Stars. However, it was revealed in June 2017 that Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon were the new enhanced versions coming to the 3DS, although some listings had the Switch as well, which could have just been a mistake. However, that's really all there is. No official material has ever leaked about the project, such as in the Nintendo Giga Leak, so this one remains unconfirmed. Missing No. Now here we have an iconic myth right here, another urban legend that sort of surpassed the game series in which it resides. Kind of like Bigfoot in San Andreas, it just becomes such a big thing that people recognize it without even playing the games themselves. No doubt, at least to some degree, this one has to thank the incredible amount of creepypastas that spawned around it, but also just the fact that this weird thing actually exists in-game. If you somehow haven't heard of it, this is just a glitched Pokemon named Missing Number, shortened as Missing No, which is just a corrupted jumble of glitched out pixels. There are many variations of this Pokemon in different versions of the games, but the most well known is probably the OG Red and Blue one, which can be found using the time capsule exploit, such as through sending newer Pokemon to older games, which causes this bug, or by the Old Man glitch, which is by talking to an old man in Viridian City, and then flying to Cinnabar Island, then surfing on the coast of the island. The Great Pokemon War. So this theory is basically made to explain the lack of adults in the Pokemon series, specifically more so Pokemon Red and Blue. There's a lack of adult males, and almost every Pokemon trainer is a child, which is why people posit that there was this great Pokemon war, which may have killed many adults in the Pokemon world and drastically decreased the population. This would also explain, I guess, why Team Rocket is able to gain such an influence in the Kanto region without being opposed by basically anyone of power. But basically the main evidence for this theory lies upon one conversation with one NPC in Red and Blue called Lieutenant Surge, the only character to have a military rank in the game, who explains that his electric-type Pokemon kept him alive during the war, which doesn't explain much other than the fact that he did fight in a war which he utilized Pokemon in, although no one else in the game seemingly addresses this, at least that I know of. Correct me if I'm wrong, so it's not likely to be some great war that thousands died in. Definitely this is just a throwaway line they put in to match the character. Pokemon Snap German developers record. Pokemon Snap is a rather unique Pokemon game compared to the others. It's a rail-style shooter which involves you taking pictures of 3D rendered Pokemon on the N64. Now, this rabbit hole begins with the official German Pokemon Snap strategy guide, which lists some peculiar high scores, specifically with Snorlax and Butterfree, which exceed the highest scores ever recorded in the game by its best players over years and years. So, is there a hidden secret that the devs know that they never told us about? Or did they cheat or lie about their high scores in this guide? Well, it's weird because basically all of the other scores seem legit, very doable yet very high scores, such as Mew's, which is a perfect score of 10,000. But with Snorlax, or Relaxo as he's called in German, which, great name by the way, the record, which is a sweat fest to achieve by the way, is 460. which has only been verifiably done by 10 people as of making this video, so for them to claim they reached a score of 4,400, yeah, I'm calling cap on that. Maybe it was a simple error, a mistake in the numbers, or maybe these numbers were taken from a different build of the game, possibly a beta in which these scores were actually achievable. To be fair, we don't know, and that's why it's on here. Kind of random, but still interesting, I think. Yoshi evolves into Dragonite. This rumor slash myth is pretty funny and interesting because it was actually started by a gaming magazine called Expert Gamer as an April Fool's joke in April of 1999, with an article showing how you can evolve a Dragonite in red and blue into a Yoshi from Mario. These were the instructions included in the article. Both players need to have beaten the game with all 150 Pokemon for this trick to work. 1. The blue version player trades the red version player for a Dratini. 2. The blue version then evolves the Dratini to a Dragonite and trades it back to the red version. The red version should head to the basement level of the unknown dungeon and surf closest to where Mewtwo was, then take a Firestone and use it on the Dragonite. Notice not available will appear, but still select it. 3. The screen will glitch and the Dragonite will evolve into Yoshi. 4. This Pokemon will still keep the stats of a Dragonite, however in the stats screen, it'll have Yoshi's pick with the ID number of 999. With some of the other Playground rumors, some of them were pretty ridiculous, let's admit, but this is pretty convincing, especially without any internet access. I definitely would have fell for this. So shout out to Expert Gamer for keeping gaming myths alive, I guess. Pokemon Z. This was the rumored third version of Pokemon X and Y. Rumored like third entries before it, like Platinum and Emerald, to have an expanded map as well as new battles, characters, items, the whole nine. However, Pokemon X and Y never got that treatment. No complete version called Z, which, come on, would have been the perfect title. So what happened? Was it in development and got scrapped, or was it never meant to be? Well, there are some initial hints, such as an arc in the anime taking place in the Kalos region called Pokemon X, Y, and Z. There were also some data mined assets which were found that were never seen in X and Y and people thought could have been saved for Z, although this obviously was not the case. There is an upcoming Pokemon title called Pokemon Legends Z through A scheduled for a 2025 release. However, this has nothing to do with X or Y and is instead a part of the 9th generation of games. Pokeball Toy Recall. And for our last one here, we have a very real situation involving Pokeball containers, which were distributed in 1999 and 2000 by Burger King as part of a collaboration with Pokemon and the release of the first movie, releasing a set of 57 Pokemon toys. They were extremely popular, surprise surprise, even leading to the North America Burger King president apologizing for the shortages. People just could not get enough of these things. Pokemon hype was at an all-time high. However, unfortunately, these toys turned out to be deadly in the hands of young toddlers, due to them posing a suffocation hazard. As a 13-month-old girl suffocated to death after the ball got stuck on her face, covering her nose and mouth. Following this, Burger King was asked by the Consumer Product Safety Commission to recall the toy, but they initially declined, saying that it was too soon to confirm that the toy was the cause of the child's death, and also stated that they did not want to worry parents who bought the toys for their kids. Not even 2 weeks later, another girl almost suffocated again thanks to the toy, although luckily her father was able to take it off before she was injured, and after this incident, the toy was finally recalled. This subsequently led to this super creepy analog horror-esque commercial regarding the toy's recall, which led to its own myths and urban legends, including lost extended versions, some of which were said to include extremely loud beeping noises in the beginning, although no evidence of such other versions has ever been found.
Burger King and the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission want you to know about the voluntary recall of this Pokemon Pokeball. The ball may pose a suffocation hazard to children under 3. Throw the ball away or return it to Burger King. The safety of your child is of the utmost importance to us.
As always, thank you guys for watching. Let me know if there are any myths, urban legends, or wild theories left out of this list. Check out YouTube Premium with my link in the description to get a 2-month free trial, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out.